Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about 3 math curriculums for kindergarten through 3rd grade. If you love vintage math curriculum, if you love free curriculum, if you're looking for math for next year, stick around. I'm going to do a full flip through for you guys. So when I went to go edit this video, I realized that I completely cut out my whole original intro, if you will. So outfit change, there's your explanation. I am going to do a full flip through of these 4 different math curriculums. I love them. I love vintage math curriculum. I love the way that they go about teaching all of this. We have used the first 3, and the 4th is our math pick for my upcoming 3rd grader. So I hope that this helps you. If you're new here, let me introduce myself. My name's Adrian, and I'm a homeschool mom to 3 kiddos. I love to talk about homeschool, family life, and motherhood, and free books, free curriculum. That's my jam. I love it. So let me turn this around and show you what all is in this math curriculum. I will leave a link down below to the blog post that will have all the link to these curriculum. Go ahead and subscribe if you like this video, if you want to see more of it. You can also subscribe to my blog so that you can get all of these links and stuff as I put them out, if that is something you're interested in. Okay, so I think this video is going to be pretty long. I will try to figure out how to do timestamps if you guys would like to skip around if you're interested in a specific level or book. I will also leave everything linked down below. I will have all of the links for these resources, and I hope that you find this helpful. If you do, let me know. If you love vintage curriculum or you use some kind of vintage free curriculum, I would love to know about it. I am always loving learning about new free or vintage curriculum. That makes me happy. So I hope this is helpful. I'm going to turn this around and show you what's in here. If you make it to the end, you're a trooper. Okay, so here I have my stack. I have printed these all out myself and bound them with my Pro Click binder. This first one on top is Number Stories 1. This is what I love to use for kindergarten. Then next one is Number Stories 2, and this is what I use for 1st grade. This is a cover I created on Canva because I didn't like what they had on Internet Archive. The next one I have for 2nd grade is First Year in Numbers. Again, this is a cover I made on Canva. And this next one is Wentworth Arithmetic Book 1, and this is just chapters 1 through 3, but this is pretty thick. This will be for 3rd grade. So I'm going to set this stuff aside and show you book by book and level by level. So I'm going to start with Number Stories, Book 1. Out of all of these books, this is my absolute favorite. I really describe this as a curl up on the couch kind of math book, which is not something you typically think of when you think of math. The first year that we ever did this, I could not get it to print. I didn't have a good printer, and so we did this math book on my phone, and I had to zoom in to count all the pictures, and even then, with having to zoom in and it being tiny, we loved it. I have a much better printer now, and I have a binding system, so I printed this out so that when my daughter eventually is ready, she's only 3, but I wanted to show you guys and just have this on hand. I am shocked by how much better it is with it being printed out. So I'm going to show you. It is adorable. You follow these little characters, and there's always a story. So you start at the zoo, and they are talking about the little monkeys, and you just curl up and you read this sweet little story about monkeys. And it keeps going. You go home and you tell your father about monkeys. And then you get a book about Jojo. And you talk a little bit about Jojo. And then you're just talking about things like Jojo and his home. Jojo likes this big tree. He climbs and plays in it. He sleeps in this big tree. It is his home. So you're learning things like this is a really big tree. And now you're introduced to 2 monkeys. You can talk about how many monkeys there are. And then there's 3 brothers. And then you learn about the mother. So you can talk about how they're bigger. We're talking about size, bigger and biggest. Then you're counting, so 5 monkeys. Mother is here, father is here, Jocko, Jerry, and Jojo are here. 1, 2 big monkeys, 1, 2, 3 little monkeys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monkeys. And then it says, what is father doing? So you're really just looking at this picture, you're describing it, you're talking about the big monkeys, the small monkeys, you're practicing counting. This is just a sweet time to spend with your kindergartner, or even your 4-year-old if you think that they are ready for something like this. I just like to start very gentle. Just snuggle up on the couch and read the story and ask them questions about the pictures and count them. So it keeps going like this for a while, where you're talking about sizes and counting. And the stories are really fun. My kids always wanted to read more. They never felt burnt out by this book. They just wanted to read more and more. And then there will be some of the pages like this which are more counting and prompts instead of story, but these are still really fun. And then we're still working on counting, but now we're learning what the numbers look like. We have the word numbers, so if this is something you want to practice, and then still you find the number. So here they have the number here, and you're gonna want to match it up to which picture. And we just do this all orally. You just point and talk and snuggle with your kiddo. And so it continues on that way, and now I flipped several pages. Okay, so we go all the way through 10 with this story. And now we're telling the numbers. This one we spent a while on with one of my kiddos who struggled recognizing numbers and letters. So it just says, tell little monkeys, the little monkeys all have numbers. Tell the number of the monkey with a red hat. So you'd say, hey, can you find the monkey with a red hat? What number are they holding? And they'd find it and tell you the number. And then if this is a struggle, you could just practice in lots of other ways and make it fun. It doesn't have to be stressful. And then again, little things, you're finding what is monkey 3 doing. So they find the number 3 and they just tell you what he's doing. This is a fun way for number recognition. And then we have more missing numbers and then another story. Now we're recognizing bigger numbers. You're asking questions and they're going to answer with the number. So which monkeys are eating coconuts? And so they point to the numbers and tell you the numbers. And so this is just super sweet. It goes all the way to the number 20. You're counting these items. Again, there's lots of questions like, what is monkey 3 doing? Which monkey has a yellow hat? Tell what number should be on the monkey between monkey 18 and monkey 20. So this is just good opportunities to practice counting, recognizing numbers, missing numbers. And then this is more halfway through the book. And you're going to tell the number that's missing. So you've been practicing with all the monkeys, and now you're going to just look with numbers. And they're not going to write in this. You're just going to do this all orally. And then it has more stories, and you talk a little bit about money. So it has all the good introduction to just those basic skills. The only thing I would say is it doesn't really have shapes, but it has things like skip counting. Here you're skip counting lumps of sugar. You're seeing how things are grouped. We count all the way up to the number 100. So they're playing like a game of hide and seek, and so you're helping them count. So you're counting. When she counted, she said all the numbers from 1 to 100. So they're counting by ones. You have a hundreds chart here, and you can just practice starting at different points on the hundreds chart. We really had fun. Some of these stories and things we did pause and practice extra on, like some of these higher numbers. You could print out your own hundreds chart. You could use manipulatives to do some extra practice. You could play some fun age-appropriate math games to go with this, but this was just so fun. Again, you're describing tall and short, learning to write numbers, so then you would get a page. This is at the very end of the book. There's only a few pages left, And you're gonna make the boxes like this and write the numbers that are missing. And so you could just do this in like a primary notebook. Very gentle. So this is my favorite vintage free math book. I have nothing against any modern curriculum, but I love the approach to this. It's so very gentle. You do it together. It's lots of conversations, fun stories, sweet pictures, and there's not a lot of emphasis on writing. It's really just number sense and skip counting and all of that good stuff. Again, that one doesn't have shapes, so if that's something that still needs to be gone over, I would find something to practice shapes with. Next is Number Stories 2, and like I said, I like to use this one for first grade, and I printed this one differently. I was trying to save paper. If I had to do it over again, I would probably print it really big like this, but it worked just fine. So it tells you the stories that they have, and I think in the very back it tells you the things that they cover. Right, so it has an index of the arithmetic content. So it's counting numbers 1 through 10, 11 to 20, counting by tens to 100, numbers from 21 to 100, numbers from 100 to 300, and then you're skip counting by twos, by fives, you're writing numbers, you're doing ordinal numbers, you're learning addition and subtraction, and continues on here. This is why I wouldn't print it this way. You have to twist and turn this book too many times. Number facts, addition and subtraction, and problem solving. There's money, comparison, tall, taller, tallest, short, shorter, shortest. All of those descriptions that you started to learn in Number Stories 1. There's also things like wide, narrow. There's some measurements in here, calendars, telling time, quarts and pints, dozens. So there's lots of good stuff in here. I felt like this covered everything that you needed to know. Maybe you could touch on place value was the only thing that I added to this book, and I didn't get it. I will grab it. I have a free place value book that I found that I add to this for first grade. So now that I showed you the index, I'm just going to flip through and show you a few different pages. This is kind of in the same format in the beginning. It starts off very gentle, lots of stories, and then they'll ask questions about the stories where you're describing things like these boxes, is which one's the longest, which one's the shortest. And they're really fun stories. And then here, many, more, and most. How many things is Bobby carrying? Is Betty carrying as many things as Bobby? There's lots of comparison in here in the beginning. Again, there's another page like in Number Stories 1. This is some review, just very simple, telling the numbers. So this is like Number Stories 1 as well. And then we're practicing counting 100. There's your hundreds chart. There's a whole page on this side where, again, you're just starting from a certain number and counting to another. So count from 20 to 30. This is just really good for their number sense, counting by tens. And some of this stuff will be, sorry if I'm making you dizzy here. This is why I would not print this book like this again. Or maybe if you did, do it one-sided, but that kind of defeats the point of not doing it this way. So this, again, is very gentle in the beginning, but then it starts jumping into more money concepts. Again, we paused for a while here. We broke out some real coins, and we played some games or some matching games with real coins. Or you could find age-appropriate games or even some free printables from Teachers Pay Teachers if that is something that you want to do. But having this, I think, would be enough, just adding some actual coins to physically hold. And then here, one of the things that I really like about Number Stories 2 is the way that they describe addition and subtraction. They don't just start off saying 2 plus 2 equals 4, because when you tell it to a child, they don't know what plus means and they don't know what equal means, not really. But if you say 2 and 2 are 4, they understand that here's 2 and here's 2 more. And so that is the wording for the majority of the book. It's 2 and 2 are 4. And then you can say and when you see this sign, so that they're understanding what this symbol means. That was a really big hit with my oldest. When we started, we were just saying 2 plus 2 equals 4, and he really struggled with the concept of that because it's abstract. But this is more concrete for him. He could understand that. So I loved the language. I really stuck with this, and then as they begin to understand it and see more of the written problems, then they start to understand what plus is. And towards the end of the book, they will also explain plus and equal. So I just loved that approach. The same thing goes for subtraction. When they hit subtraction in this book, you say from. I would also sometimes rephrase it to say takeaway, but they did not understand minus because, again, it was an abstract concept. Okay, so here they'll have a story typically, and then they teach you some new addition facts, and they do it in fact families typically. Oh, not on this page. Okay, so they will describe how we add, they explain it. It's lots of word problems and mental math. Again, this is not a curriculum where you are writing all the answers. You're sitting here and you're just doing this orally with your child and trying for them to do it mentally. If they are not there, then I broke out an abacus or just some little counters that I grabbed from Dollar Tree. Nothing expensive. You could use beans or peas or beads or something that you have on hand, buttons. But we just did it very simply, and if they couldn't figure it out in their head, then they would use the manipulatives and we would move on. And then they'll have some practice problems. So there are word problems, and then they start to do the written problems. But I just love this. I love all the examples. They would have you read the examples. They would have you do more word problems. They just had a very good variety. And again, you're still describing pictures. You're reading stories. This clearly got wet very recently. Oh, man. But I felt like this was very solid. By the end of this curriculum, my children knew their math facts up to 10 because we did lots of practice. There's some calendar work down here. You're still practicing things like describing high or low, biggest, smallest, counting. Sometimes my kids were not a fan of this. They're not very creative, but I thought this would be really fun for creative children. You make up a number story about these pictures. So the whole time you're doing these number stories, you are reading stories and then doing the math problems they give you. And now you get a chance to look at it and come up with the math problems. So they could count the different number of plants, or there's one big one and two small ones. You know, how many buttons or how many children or whatever it is. For creative children, I think this would be really fun to be the teacher and they could give you the number problems. They're going over some measuring here. They circle back to some money. And then by the end, they are having more of these problems to do. And I never made my children do very much. So, for example, we would do one story and then we would do the number problems. So we would read covers for books. We would read that. See, I keep getting mixed up. 200. We would read covers for books, and then we would do this page. And that would be it for our math that day. Because we're practicing these, we're learning some new things, we're reviewing facts we've already done, and then we're also reviewing some money counting here. So that would be all that we did. And then if I felt like they needed some extra practice on whatever we were learning, we would pause and I would pull out some other form of practice, like practicing money again, or we would just go back over some of these problems together the next day. If it was a page like this, I would do a couple of these because these are really short. They take only about 2 minutes, so we would do a few pages. But I don't think I ever spent more than 10 or 15 minutes on practicing these. And then at the very end, they have all of their facts here that they have learned. Here's all the addition and all the subtraction. This is kind of, for me, their exit exam, if you will. I never treated this like a test, but we did use this. If they could go over all of them across and they didn't struggle with them, then we'd move on. But if they were struggling with some of these, we would come back to it a day or two later and we would go down the row to practice again. And then we would do the subtraction, and same thing. If they got it pretty well the first time, we would move on. And if they struggled, we would go down the columns instead of just across the rows. And then that's it for Number Stories 2. Again, this is for, I use it for first grade, but again, you've seen inside of it a little bit, so you can judge where your child is. Next, I have a first year in numbers. I'm not sure how I came across this one. In the beginning, I saw someone talk about this and was so excited because I wasn't sure where I was going after number stories, and I had been just so in love with it. I wasn't sure where to go next because I feel like this vintage math is so much different than modern math curriculums. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think they're great, but once we started doing this, my kids got used to this style of learning, and I have also gotten used to it. So I wanted something similar, and I found First Year in Numbers. This is what I used for second grade. And I will say that it starts off very slow. There is a lot of review if you are using this for second grade. And that really made me question myself. So I think if I could do it over, I would have done more pages each day in the beginning, or I would have skipped some, because this took a lot longer to get through than I anticipated. And I think it took a lot longer to get through than my second grader was capable of, if that makes sense. I will say too that if you don't feel like this is enough, this would be a great practice book. My second grader, once he was able to read, was able to do a lot of this independently. I could say, hey, go work on your math. I'm right here if you have any questions, if you need help, come see me and we'll work on it together. And he did majority of this by himself. This is my reprint for my upcoming second grader. My current second grader is on the last few pages of this currently. So again, there's lots of review. It goes over numbers, it goes over the measurements, comparing, counting, and it really doesn't pick up, I would say, until about here. And even then, this is very simple addition that they mastered in Number Stories 2. So probably really doesn't pick up until over here. But after that, I thoroughly enjoy this. I feel like this gives them a very solid foundation before they enter third grade and really start working on multiplication. So this is what I mean by lots of review. Like, this is the first page, you're just counting. Counting, here you're just matching these. You could use popsicle sticks or something for this. Lots of counting in the beginning. You're just matching these. You can count the blocks. Names of numbers. Very basic. Here's some cute number rhymes. It's still sweet and vintage with the pictures and the stories. Very basic. This is counting one more. So we're already several pages in, and it is just very, very basic. Here's counting three more. What I do appreciate about this, though, is it's very systematic. It goes counting one more, counting two more, counting three more. And so it'll go all the way up. And then it will do a review. So it'll mix up the counting one more all the way up to counting three more. And it does all the way up to 9 plus 3, right? And then you review a little bit. There's lots of practice pages. This is why I say that this would be a good supplement if you're just looking for practice pages. I liked this because it really drilled into my son his number facts. He did not have to think much about it after doing this book. It even adds 3 numbers here. You're working on measuring. These were some fun ones. There are some hands-on things where you will cut things out like this and you will make them. You make a clock. There's several hands-on projects, which was fun too. Okay, so now you have some of your missing numbers here. And then at the same time that they are learning addition, they are starting to understand the basic concept of multiplication. And I really appreciated this. I tried to do this with Is Arithmetic and it was a miss. But with this book, it was a total hit. He really understood it because he could see the pictures, he could see the grouping, he understood that 4 and 4 are and 2 times 4 are, and he could see it laid out right next to each other. And it was very basic. This is where the only talking about adding 2 or 2 more or groups of 2 is very helpful, because then you'll have some 1/2. So we have a little bit of fractions, but then it goes into numbers 1, 2, and 3. So it reviews. Now you're learning the numbers 4 and 5, the number 6, but you've also got your multiplication, your grouping here. Definitely have manipulatives. That makes it a lot easier. I just love that this is so systematic. Again, I felt like it was very slow at first, and I did start to doubt. I have an update video on my channel somewhere talking about how I was doubting my math choice. We're already at page 47, and we're just now on the number 9, but you're also doing things like 3 times 3. 3 threes are what? 1/3 of 9 is what? So you're not just doing addition and subtraction. You're learning a lot of concepts with the number 3. And in the end, it definitely paid off. Money. I always like to get out real coins whenever we do this, so they can see what current money looks like, since this is older textbooks. They get to do things like play store, so you get to add these different things, or how many items can I get for this much money. Measurements, all the way up to the number 12 now. And it's pretty much the same layout. They have number problems, they have practice problems. You continue to talk about fractions steadily, money steadily, measurements. We started to struggle about here, fractions, but again, I love that they have it laid out simply in their groupings, and you can rely back on their knowledge of addition and grouping and multiplication for them to start to understand these things. All right, so we're going to skip ahead. We're all the way up to the number 15 here. Same thing, you have the addition and multiplication together. Here we're talking about some place value, which again, I like to do a lot more place value in first grade. So I have a whole nother book to do with first grade. Just practicing counting and writing numbers. Now we're doing addition and subtraction with the number 2. So we're kind of starting back over, but now we're adding subtraction. So it's addition and subtraction, addition and subtraction. Then we're coming back to multiplication. So now it's all of them, and they're starting to learn the basics of what division is. And it is a lot easier to understand if you've done it systematically like this. Lots of practice problems. This is a fun one. You just get to sit and do it with your kiddo. You ask them whatever questions. Can you tell me, how many yards around the beets, or this whole section here? How long is the school walk? How many feet? How many yards is it? It's just really fun. You get to sit and do this with your kiddo and interact with them. We also took, it wasn't this one. It was this one, where you learn that 3 feet is 1 yard. We took this outside with some chalk and some rulers, and my child got to draw it out in chalk and then, get distracted for a bit before we came back here. But that was a fun way to make that lesson come alive. And then you just have lots of review at the end. You are learning. I like that it goes over Roman numerals. This isn't something that we see a whole lot, but with us doing vintage curriculum, we do see this a lot. And it's always a good review for me too. So you're learning about time and Roman numerals, talking about quarter past, half past, and then there's just lots of addition and subtraction here. At the end of here, they do give you lots of games for drill, which I think is really fun. My plan for when we finish this curriculum is to just go through all of these games and to practice. We could probably do this through the summer, and that way they get to just keep on practicing and not lose all of those hard-won skills. Like I said, I use this for 2nd grade. If you are comparing this to something like The Good and the Beautiful, which we did pause and try The Good and the Beautiful for a while, The Good and the Beautiful jumps in very hardcore with adding and subtracting numbers with multiple digits. As you saw, this was not the case. We didn't really hit that until the end, where it's doing things like this, where it's taking big numbers and you're adding, subtracting up to 10 from 9, I'm sorry, adding or subtracting at 2 there. But I feel very comfortable with this after almost completing this, because my child, after learning this, can look at a clock and tell you down to the very minutes until daddy's going to be home, just mentally, because he has practiced all of these things. He has practiced the measurements of time and how many minutes are in an hour, and he knows all of those things, even the calendar. He loves to look at it and independently just figure out how many days until a certain event that he's looking forward to. Because he has had this solid foundation, he's able to understand those things on his own. The same thing with really big numbers. He has this solid foundation and his brain just wants to know things in the hundreds or thousands, and he can figure that out because he has the very basics mastered. There is no question about if he knows his facts. Another fun thing that I didn't come across is skip counting. So you will look at skip counting by 3s, and it's not just, okay, get your hundreds chart and count, by 3s to 100. You go from 0 to 30, but then you'll start at 31, or 62 to 92. It's not things that are evenly divided by 3. So you really have to know your facts. You really have to study these things, and then you have to know it backwards. So you know them forward, you know them backwards. You do this not just for 3s. I think we're on 4s right now. So again, you can look at this and decide where your child would be, or if you're interested in using this, but I have loved this, even though I started to question it after a little while. All right, lastly, I have Wentworth Arithmetic Book 1. This is chapters 1 through 3, and this is about a 3rd grade level. Now, I don't have a lot of personal experience with this yet, as this is going to be our math pick for next year. But I have finally printed it out, and I thought I would give you a quick flip through of this as well. So here is your table of contents. From what I can tell, chapter 1 is a lot of review of your basic facts and fractions, and then you start to get to bigger numbers in chapter 2. So numbers to 1,000, addition and subtraction, multiplication and division tables, and then again, measures, fractures. And then chapter 3, reading and writing numbers, and you're just continuing to practice. There are more chapters, but I didn't print this section out. So here is your review, book 1, chapter 1. Still the same sweet vintage feel. I love all the sweet little pictures. I love the stories that they ask, or the stories they tell, and then asking about pictures for descriptions. There's fun number games. I'm excited for these. I think my kiddos will really like this. Fun ways to practice your math facts instead of just dry worksheets. You're playing store, you're playing climbing the ladder here. I think this is a lot of drill. I think I read somewhere that there's a specific time that you want them to be working on. Since they have been working on these for so long, they should be able to quickly and orally do these. Money. here is some place value again. They have this project that you're supposed to do as a class. So again, this was a vintage math curriculum book. This was not originally a homeschool book, but I think this could be adapted very easily for homeschool. Okay, so here is addition tables. This is just reciting them if they need more practice to memorize them. More games. Now we're learning column addition here, just going over that again. Money, measurement, fractions. Playing store. The ultimate achievement of each pupil in grade 3 should be the ability to give the answers to the above additions orally in 30 seconds. The combinations being given in any order, left to right, right to left, up or down. So the sums of these 45 combinations should be thoroughly learned. The record of each pupil should be kept and the backwards ones should receive special attention. So I love that it has notes on the bottom of here too. This was one of my concerns, is going past just, kindergarten, first grade math. I did want a little bit of instruction, which is why I was concerned going forward with vintage math books, but this does give you little notes and things at the end, at the bottom of a lot of these pages on how to use them or suggestions, or it will even say skip these problems if your kid already knows them, and I really appreciate that. Again, here's some more notes. They're starting to add bigger numbers here. So we're about page 58, and they're learning to add multiple digits. Here, there's a lot of teaching here and a lot of information for you as the teacher. Okay, skipping several pages, subtracting. Now we're hitting 3-digit numbers. So like I said, I feel really good that my second grade book that I showed you, the first year numbers, they solidly learn all of those facts, and now they're going to be able to translate all of that knowledge into doing bigger problems like this. This is lots of teaching and explanation, practice problems, oral review, multiplication, division, showing you the tables here. Here you're doing division. We're just skipping chunks here now. Still working on measuring and fractions. I love that this is just a constant throughout all these books, that you just get more and more work on those, because that can be tricky. Playing store again, preparing for the party. I love the story aspect of these. I mean, how sweet are these pictures? A sucker for pictures. All right, now there's really big numbers. You're just practicing reading them, and then you're going to write these numbers. Talking about money. I am really excited to use this book. Again, here's some more instructions for the teacher. Making change, that's a good one. Nobody knows how to do that anymore. Buying at the store, multiplication. So I feel like this will be really good for third grade. I'm really excited to use this one. Okay, here is that place value book that I was talking about. I found this, I believe, on Teachers Pay Teachers. I don't know. I will find and link it. This is the one that my son just completed. I believe he has one sheet left back here. But I like to do just a little chunk at a time. We'll do one sheet a couple days a week. And so we're just practicing. We're reading the numbers. We're talking about the tens and the ones and breaking the numbers apart. And we just do a sheet every couple days. And then you do it without the blocks and write the numbers. I just find that this really helps with number sense. Oop, we skipped that page. And it's just the same thing, but in different ways. I did this for my oldest, and my middle child is just now doing this. There's some really easy ones. And then you're doing it again with bigger numbers, but without the number blocks. I think we needed practice writing force. I don't know what was going on there. But this is just a simple and easy way to practice place value, because the book I liked for first grade, The Number Stories 2, did not talk about place value a whole lot. If you wanted, you could buy all of these blocks, but we just used these pictures, or you can use popsicle sticks. You can make bundles of 10 and then have, you know, your individual sticks. But that's how we taught place value. Alright guys, so that was a really long video. Thank you for watching if you made it all the way to the end. I hope this was helpful. This is something that I wish I would have had as I was trying to find all of these and prepare all of these items. I have seen a few glimpses into certain things, but nothing that was comprehensive. So I hope this was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of vintage curriculum, free curriculum, book hauls, all the homeschool things, then go ahead and subscribe so you can see what's coming next. Bye guys.